Hey, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Josh, and this is Josh.
Hi.
Hey, something that we haven't done for apparently 4 years is to give some newbies some tips on some good planes that they can use to get involved in the hobby.
Yeah, picking your first plane is very crucial, and there's oftentimes different planes and different options depending on what you want to have as your end goal.
Right.
And we've recently visited multi-rotors, picking your first multi-rotors, and it really gave us a big indicator. We need to come back and visit this because technology, price points, opportunities, options, they've all changed.
It all changes over the years, so it's always good to keep refreshed on it.
Yep.
Now we're going to be talking about 3-channel planes and 4-channel planes. So basically with 3-channel planes, you have thrust, climbing, and turning.
Yeah. Now 4-channel is different. 4-channel brings everything back to its original aerodynamic terms. So you have pitch, you have roll, you have yaw, and you have thrust. Yaw.
Cool.
So because different airplanes come in all different sizes, you have different size backyards, different desires of your end goals, we kind of broke this down into 5 different categories.
Right. Well, let's get started.
Yeah. So what we have is stable high wings, micro brushless, DIY, pusher trainers, and foam gliders.
Now, a stable high wing is probably a good place to start, right?
Yep, stable high wings are really good. And a matter of fact, this is kind of what I was just talking about. The favorite pick for that, for a stable high wing, is our Apprentice 15E from Horizon Hobby.
Okay. Yeah, the Princess is cool. Very stable. It's a nice, good size, too.
Yep. Now, typically, we wouldn't recommend this as your very first airplane, but the newer version of the Apprentice that they have has something called Safe.
Yeah.
And what Safe does is it gives you the ability to limit your bank, limit your pitch, and also has features like the panic button.
Yeah, we call it the oh-crap switch.
The oh-crap switch.
Yeah, basically it puts you into a mode that kind of takes control and doesn't let you make like huge inputs and do anything crazy.
Yeah, so say by accident you're flying, you kind of bump it up to where you can do full aerobatics. There's 3 levels: very limited bank, a little bit more aggressive, and then full unassisted flight, I guess you can say.
Right.
If you find yourself in a situation where you need to bail out, you can hit this button, it'll automatically self-right itself. Now there's one thing that we want to kind of caution people about here. Learning to take your fingers off the controls and hit a button is really not the best way to learn. But the nice thing about this, with the ability to dial up, when you're flying this in a very beginner mode, you want a nice big open area to fly, but it's going to limit your bank. It's going to be very difficult to crash this.
Yeah.
And when you come to land, it literally gives you the instruction. You throttle back and you're in low mode. You cannot stall it. You cannot tip stall it. It's very stable.
Yeah, it's a very stable plane, and the Safe system makes it nice for you to kind of progress from very beginner stages to getting better and better and better.
Yep. So our second category is micro brushless. And the reason we chose this is because if you don't have the room that you need for like a stable high wing, but you want all the benefits of a brushless motor, there's now a lot of small airplanes that give you the ability to have brushless motors.
Right, and we did an episode on the Champ S Plus, and actually Jen was in that episode.
Yes, and she flew it great.
Yeah.
Jen and you and myself, we had a lot of fun with these little brushless motors. They give you a lot more power than a typical brush motor, and frankly, they last longer too.
Now with the Champ, you actually have a bunch of really cool options.
Yep, just like the Apprentice, they added a couple more things. There's actually GPS on this, and for being under $200 to have this technology where you can do auto land, and also when it gets down to a certain height, it'll actually restrict some of the bank ability to keep you from kind of spiraling in. Yeah. So it's very nice. You still need a little bit bigger of a backyard, but it had really great characteristics in the air, and also you're able to upgrade it in the future for things like FPV.
So basically it's another way that you can kind of evolve as a pilot, but with a tiny, little tiny Champ.
And one of the most important things with any of these models, you want to be able to turn those features off, because as you progress as a pilot, you want to know what the plane is feeling like so you can counteract that. So all these planes we recommend, you can actually turn it down to the most basic, simple controls. On most of the Horizon products, you will get gyro stabilization, so if you have wind hitting it, it's not going to just, turn it upside down. Right. And with these light planes, you really want that feature.
So the next one we want to talk about is DIY or kit builds, ones that you build yourself.
Yep, that's kind of our foundation too. We started with Flight Test, really showing people how to get in the hobby as cheap as possible. Yep. And one thing we really love is foam board, but DIY can go well beyond that too. It can go into things like balsa builds. Just keep in mind, we're trying to recommend the very first experience, first plane for you. Right. So generally things like foam board airplanes are going to be far easier to build than balsa wood airplanes.
Right, for sure.
And our favorite picks are obviously things we've designed around because we love getting people in the hobby, and that's things like the tiny trainer and the Scout. Yeah. Yep. Now you flew the Scout, right?
I did, yeah, and it was actually a really windy day, but it actually held up pretty good. With the broader wings, it was a little bit of a kite sometimes, but it cut through the wind really well, and it handles really stable even for all that wind.
The thing we like about the Scout, it gives you one of the biggest rewards for the shortest amount of time. The wings are very simple, everything's simple, but when you build it up and look at it, it looks like a really nice little model you'd want to put on your desk, and it takes a beating. This is kind of the birth of what we call mighty minis, and what we found is when you shrunk down the airplanes to the size around what we have our Scout and a lot of our minis, they became incredibly durable. So what we did is when we came out with the Mighty Mini series, we did did a double release where we had the Scout, which is a beginner plane, and the Mini Speedster, which is a little bit more advanced, a little bit more speedy, I guess you can say.
Hence the name.
But it gives you the maximum reward on a very short build time. So we love it for that reason.
Yeah, and again, there's really nothing like being able to build your own plane and then fly it, because if you wreck it, you know how to fix it, and it helps you build your confidence.
These planes that we're talking about, especially the Mini Scout, if you download our free downloadable plans, you can build it for about $2 in materials.
Wow.
And even our speedboat kit is about $15.
Nice. So we also have the Tiny Trainer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tiny Trainer is by far our most popular trainer of all time. We've sold more Tiny Trainers than any other model to get people in the hobbies. And a matter of fact, we see pictures of parents and their kids flying all the time with them. Recently, last weekend, we had a young man that was 11 years old, first time flying, going straight from a simulator to flying this airplane.
Nice.
Had an amazing experience. And nothing more that we love than seeing kids grow in the hobby and get into it. The big thing about the Tiny Trainer, it's a little bit longer of a build, but it teaches you every technique, A-folds, B-folds, foldovers, bevel cuts that you need to know to build all 40 of our plus designs. And the idea is that not only when you're done building this, it'll grow with you. So it can go from a 2-channel glider to a 3-channel motor glider, then to a 4-channel pattern airplane, all within the 2 wings that we provide and the 2 different noses we provide. It's a really cool stepping stone to go all the way from learning to fly to doing actually a lot of really cool aerobatics, including knife edge. The Tiny Trainer is actually a plane I fly quite often with my wife. We have a lot of fun with it, and she does a really great job with it.
Go Jen! Yeah! And now the next one we want to talk about is pusher trainers.
Yes.
Which I like a lot, because most of the time when you when I crash, you break a prop. That's usually like the main damage.
Props are always the first to go.
Yeah, but with pushers, the prop is on the back.
Yeah.
So you crash nose first into something, and props usually fine.
Pusher trainers oftentimes give you the best ability to land without damaging it, because you don't have to worry about landing gears, flipping things over, breaking props. Also, oftentimes pusher trainers are around a light wing loading, which means they glide beautifully. So as far as different options, really the configuration is light wing loading, pusher. You know, you got the front nose now, you can put FPV in the future on it, and safety. So it's really good. A couple key airplanes to point out with that would be like our little V-Venture from Graupner. Yeah. We got Hobby King's Bix 3, which we're kind of partial towards the whole Bixler line. You are, yes? Yes, I am.
No, I like Bixler too. Actually, I learned how to flare on the Bixler.
You did learn how to flare on the Bixler.
It's a good one.
And you did
nice
great.
glide slope.
I think the Bixler was one of the very first planes you ever soloed completely. Yeah. Without touching. So it's a really good platform to learn, and all different manufacturers, Skysurfer, Bixler series. And if you like the DIY aspect, we have our Explorer. The Explorer, yeah. And the neat thing about the Explorer is you can actually reconfigure that to be a glider. Once again, you have 2 different wings on it, so you can go from 3-channel to 4-channel. But really the biggest thing you want to look for, light wing loading, pusher prop, and of course safety. Finally, we have foam gliders. Foam gliders. And like the Radiant and the Micro Radiant. Radiant and Micro Radiant are 2 really good picks and stuff. And the nice thing about both of them, they have folding props. So just what we talked about in the previous category with pushers saving those props fold back, which gives you a nicer glide, but it also gives you the ability to land without breaking your props. Yeah. Now, if you have a big open area, the Radiant is beautiful. I still am partial towards the original Radiant with the 3-channel. We've also flown the Radiant XL, and they have a Radiant Pro, which has advanced features like, you know, crow and flaps and ailerons, and it doesn't glide quite as well in our opinion. It's a little bit more complicated, but the 3-channel Radiant's great. Yeah, the nice thing about gliders is they glide. Yeah. And so if you have a big, nice open area, it's actually really relaxing. You can have a 45 to 1 hour flight time off of one of these batteries just by going up, chopping the throttle, and even our after hours friends love their Radiant. They love soaring, and they spend a lot of time in the air with that. But anytime you can go out and you can relax, it's really what the hobby's all about, having fun. Now, of course, the Radiant with a longer glide slope, what you're gonna have to fly in is a bigger area. Because whenever you're gliding, you have to cover more area to bring it down. It's not like these planes that sink a lot faster. They can just drop down in the backyard. Right. But the Micro Radiant gives you the ability to have a nice low speed. It still soars beautifully, and we have a lot of fun with it. The Micro Radiant, Jen has one personally, and she flies it all the time. The neat feature about that is it has AS3X, so even though it's light wing loaded and the wind would bother it, it really reacts quickly to it, and it makes it feel like it's flying on a much calmer day. Cool. Anytime you are flying though, always pick the best weather possible to have your first experience, and then work up into the more winter weather. Adverse weather. The kind of stuff we typically have around here. Right now. Now, like we said, there's always updates to this in the industry. There's always new technology coming out, so the best plane for being a beginner, it will change eventually, so we're gonna stay on top of it. Yep, and when it does change and there's a major reason to do this, we're gonna revisit this as many times as we need, because we really want you guys to have a really good experience. Because of that, we strongly encourage you to make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell, so whenever we put out more videos, you're ready to receive them. And also, if you're not a beginner anymore and you wanna leave a comment below letting us know which one of these planes worked out best for you, or if you have a completely different idea altogether, we'd love to hear from our community, so let us know. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. See ya.